Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Incom Gaming, Cheltenham's premier friendly local game store. Check the link in the description. Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Gaahleri Mobius Airbrush. Gaahleri got in touch and asked if I'd like to take a look at their new airbrushes, and I chose a 0.3mm nozzle option. They do have a 0.2 as well, and though I do a little bit of detail work with my airbrush, I found that this would fit the bulk of what I do more and therefore give a slightly better review, being within my skill set more than the fine detail work. I'd already seen the airbrush pop up in my Instagram feed a few times, and I must admit I did stop and have a look. It definitely looked very nice and a premium finish to it, at least in the pictures, so I was really excited to have a closer look. First impressions, of course, are always the packaging, and it looks very, very nice. The box is a really nice, firm, thick cardboard. It definitely feels more like a premium style package rather than sort of a cheaper box that you sometimes get with some of the cheaper airbrushes. As we open it up, inside the lid there's a nice expanded diagram of the airbrush and how the parts go together, which I thought was a really nice, neat thing. So if you do take it apart for cleaning, you can see all your parts and you know what you should have. In addition to that, there is a quick start guide leaflet in the box as well, which shows you the basics of how to set up, attach and adjust. And even there's a little diagram there of making sure that your paint is at the right thickness or viscosity for the airbrush, which is not something I've come across before. It comes in multiple languages and things, so it feels quite beginner friendly. So a layer of foam here, and we get into the airbrush itself. You've got some spare O-rings there, which is always nice to have with your airbrush. There's a big tube of lube there, which is good as well. You don't always get those free in the airbrushes I've been purchasing in the past before as well. And then you have your airbrush itself. And the first sort of reaction to it is it feels really nice and premium. It's pretty heavy. It's very, very nice in the hand, feels comfortable. The trigger works very, very well. I think it's designed as square, so it fits in your thumb or finger very, very well. The paint or fluid cup is a pretty large one. I tend to use a smaller one at the moment, and I should change it over to the large ones I have for my existing airbrush, but this is one large one in the box with a lid as well, which is handy if you do fill up quite a lot. So say you're doing a large batch, which is something I do as a commission painter. The air cap is a screw-on one, and the nozzle cap screws off fairly easily as well. The nozzle, as I said, is a 0.3. I tend to use between a 0.3 and 0.4 for most of my standard work, so this is towards the smaller side of that. But as we'll come to later, it seems to work pretty well. And it's got the unique spiral-shaped Mac nozzle, which is supposed to help with airflow. I'm not sure on the science of that, so I'll take their word for it, but it definitely looks very nice and appears to work pretty well. As we get towards the back end of the airbrush, so the rear of the handle there, it's quite firm as it twists off, the O-rings doing their jobs. And then you've got access to your needle and also your adjustment knob and the handle there, the knob that allows you to release the needle from the back. Now, if you've got paint in your airbrush, you don't want to draw your needle back through the brush or you'll draw paint through it. But I did it there just to see how it comes apart. You got multiple places there to adjust. You got your fluid adjustment knob that goes at the back, which changes how far you can move your trigger back, so you can sort of set a limit to it. And then you've got your main lever adjustment knob towards the body there as well, which controls the flow a bit as well. So you've got multiple ways of adjusting this airbrush. The 0.2 version has a further adjustment, which is underneath the fluid cap itself. Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Baron of Dice, premium wargaming dice. Over 500 styles, over 4,000 customer reviews. Welcome to the best dice on the planet. So I grabbed a sheet of paper to do the first trials. I've opted for some Model Air here. It's a paint that I know that will go through the airbrush relatively well. Doesn't require too much thinning. I thought it would be only fair way to sort of test the brush first off. What I didn't really think about was what a poor colour choice this was for making a video, and you guys can't really see what's going on. But my very first tries with the airbrush. It takes you a while to get used to a new trigger and all the controls and things, but I was pretty impressed already. It felt very nice and easy to use, felt comfortable in the hand, and I had a relative amount of control. Obviously I would adjust that and the PSI, which I think I have at about 20 at the moment, so relatively low, but I would adjust and play around depending on what I was doing at the time, what jobs I had. But my first impressions were that this is something I could definitely work with and really like the way it worked. So I continued to play around with it really. This adjustment knob here seems to control the firmness of the trigger and how much control you want. So you may want a really, really light touch to that. You may want to feel the feedback a little bit from the trigger on your finger a little bit more, so you like it a little bit firmer so you don't feel like you can accidentally pull it too far. I was sort of fairly medium on that. And then at the far end of the airbrush, right on the bottom, that's where you can restrict how far the actual trigger goes back, so you can stop your flow from being too much. So I decided to remove the air cap here just to see what kind of real close control you could have from the 0.3, and again you can't see it because I've chosen an awful colour in paint, but lots of control for very, very small dots here. And again, while it'll take me a little while to get used to what the airbrush can do and really kind of so it feels second nature in my hand. Here I've tried it with a different color. You can see you can make relatively small dots and small lines and small little squiggles here as I start doodling with the cap off there, and it's I think you could do quite a lot with this airbrush. So far this airbrush definitely gets a smiley face from me. While not wanting to turn this quick review video into a painting tutorial, I did decide to grab a miniature to add some paint to, and I have this on my desk ready to add some underpainting to, so I started to add almost Zenithal style white layers to this lovely old landship. Look out for a future video on this. And it sort of tested the airbrush in real life a little bit more. White paint can obviously be something that's quite tricky and problematic, and this is a Pro Acryl Bold Titanium White, which is a lovely nice white to use anyway, but it went through the airbrush absolutely no problems at all. So overall, I think this is a really nice airbrush. It feels really, really nice in the hand. It definitely lived up to those images on Instagram. It feels like a premium airbrush, which is obviously what they're aiming at. I've been using Harder and Steenback for quite a while, so relatively expensive airbrushes, a couple of £100 or more for the most used one. I have been using it for years, and this definitely feels like one of those airbrushes. It's definitely got that nice design aesthetic, but aside from that, it also feels that kind of quality while you're using it. The time will tell, and I will keep using this for work and things as well. Time will tell whether it continues to live up to that, but right now it feels like it should be a lot more expensive than the $76 I think is the full price for it. It's reduced a bit at the moment, so that is a very, very good price for what is a pretty good airbrush for that amount of money. So is it a good beginner's airbrush for miniature painters? And at that price point, you can almost aim it at the beginner market. You're definitely going to attract a lot of beginners. And I think, yes, it probably could be used for beginners. I would definitely recommend it and may well recommend it to people. I think one thing to note is it may be nicer if it was a 0.35 or a 0.4 nozzle, but the nozzle didn't feel too small at all, and it's sitting somewhere in between the kind of medium wargamer sized and the detail size, which you tend to see under the 0.3, so the 0.2s, 0.25s, that kind of thing. It does almost feel like it fits in the middle. But you saw me there, doing some underpainting on a fairly large model. I didn't feel too restricted. I did pop the PSI up to 30 there, and the extra pressure pushed that through, so it felt like I could do a larger area. So thinking about it more as I'm talking, yeah, I think it's a really good middle ground airbrush for a beginner, or for a more experienced airbrush painter who's looking to replace their airbrush, or maybe looking to move up the scale a little bit. Maybe they had a very, very cheap brush that came with a compressor and they're looking for that slightly nicer brush, and they're looking at the prices of some of the big brands out there and they're a little bit nervous about it. I think this would be a really good option to look at least. I really like this, and I'm going to keep using it for my work and all my airbrushing for the next few months or so, and see how it goes. So maybe it will be something that I do a bit of a follow-up on, or if you're in my Discord, you can ask me questions and I'll keep giving you updates about how it's going. I'm hoping that it'll carry on and work the way it feels now, because as I said, it feels really nice, and I'm still surprised by the price. I feel like if it had a different brand name on it, they could definitely ask more for it, and it looks like as I said, they're trying to change up the market a little bit by bringing out a premium airbrush at a much lower price than is usual. One minor concern I do have will be how easy it is to get replacement parts for it, and I haven't really explored that too much. I believe the brush came from China, may not have come from China. I know they're manufactured there, and you can get things sent relatively quickly these days. But if you're like me and you suddenly realise you need a replacement part pretty quickly, it is nice to be able to order from a supplier in your given nation, or even from Amazon. And I think this brand have sold on Amazon before. I'm not sure they've got much on there. So if replacement nozzles and needles and things were available, easy to get hold of within a couple of days, that would probably take away those fears, and they may well be. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you found this useful, and if you are in the market for an airbrush, this might well be something that you take a look at. I'll definitely suggest it. I'm not saying definitely go out and buy it, doing your own research and things as well, but I think for the price and for the sort of the balance of people wanting a nice airbrush that they can trust is going to give them good quality results, this definitely does. As I said, the only concerning things for me will be how easy it is to get hold of replacement parts, and I know you can with them directly, and I know when they shipped to me it only took a sort of 10 days or so, and that was over the Christmas period as well, so it's not a major issue. This is just me being a little bit reactive sometimes, and I might drop a needle or do something and I need a replacement fairly quick. But all in all, definitely take a look at it. If you haven't already, take a look at the channel's Discord, join in over there. Lots of painting chat. Any war game in the world is fair play, so you can talk about absolutely anything. Very friendly place. Have a look there. And if you are an existing viewer and you feel like you'd like to support the channel more, I do have a Patreon. So all those links are in the video description, along with a link to the website for the airbrushes as well. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you soon. Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Baron of Dice, premium wargaming dice. Over 500 styles, over 4,000 customer reviews. Welcome to the best dice on the planet.